All right, welcome to the Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chap, along with my co-host Tyler. God dang it, man! You know what's been weird? You haven't been in the pod lately, so like, I'm trying to figure. I'm have all these guest hosts on, and I'm like, okay, like these guest hosts, like you know what I'm saying. We'll have more on though. We have a couple of plans, so and then we'll
Yep.
do a thing. But Tyler's back now. He's dealing with something else, but we'll get to that later. But
Yeah.
kind of like the Lions offense in the third quarter, sputtering.
Yes, sir. Yeah, things are we're doing all right here, man. We got Lions football's back in action, baby. We're ready, ready to kick off the season. So, be able to start the season with a dub. That was huge. So I'm pumped about that.
So we'll hit the intro and then let's go. All right, welcome to Detroit Lions Podcast. We're back. Obviously, we hit the intro and we had to get you back. Now, Tyler, your camera just turned off again, so we're good. But there's a lot to talk about today with the Lions. Obviously, that victory Sunday, which tied into Monday because I was at the game, so that's why it was like that. But Tyler, I'm interested to hear what you have your thoughts on the game. We can hear my thoughts on the game, everything like that. What was your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. I mean, we it's always a good game when you can get when you get W. You know what I mean? Like regardless of how we got it done. I mean, the initial thoughts were, we were really looking towards that identity that we've been trying to develop the last few years, and that's just ground and pound the rock, right? So, opening up those lanes, those running lanes, and kind of, old school black and blue NFC North like bulldog football, and so that's kind of like what we were doing. I was hoping that obviously we'll get into the specifics of the game and everything. I was hoping that it was going to open up the passing game a little bit more as far as the play action, but we stayed resilient with the run game, kind of bullied them out of this game. And was able to walk away with the dub. Especially watching them in the OT period. I mean, those guys up front just bullied the shit out of the Rams D line. So, good, tough, hard fought win. It's without these guys playing in any preseason game. These first couple weeks are pretty close, pretty much like preseason games. So I kind of expect things to be rusty. But yeah, I mean, I'm never going to complain when you get a W. So came out, squeak one out.
Yeah, the thing that I took away from the game, just the initial thought of the game was like, okay, like they could have played a lot better. I thought it was a C minus, maybe a D plus game. The way that they played, like it was just like kind of like lackadaisical, kind of like rusty. But I understand the rust after not playing in the preseason. But what you don't need to play in the preseason. I mean, we saw, a team like the Ravens not playing the preseason. They did pretty well to come out and shoot. So I think it was a little bit of you take and you get. And I think last year the Lions came out of the first game and they played really well. So it really didn't matter. So, it is what it is. So that is what it is. But let's get to some of the stats. Obviously, if we go over it again, the total yards was 363 to 387. They led in that. Detroit led in rushing 163 to 83. Passing was 200 to 304. I'll get to why in a minute. Why this I'm pulling this up. Yards per play 6.0 for Detroit, 5.2 for the Rams, and then time of possession was 34.56 for the Rams and 29.45 for the Lions. And Tyler, everyone asked me, like, they're like, okay, why is the pass defense still giving up plays? And I'll tell you why. Because there's something to be said about Matthew Stafford and his quick release. If we go back to I got this pulled up. I gotta pull this up. Where is it? Right here. So this says Lions pass rush had the number 1 graded pass rush in week 1. I found statistical data to back it up. Win rate top 2 in the top 10. Hutch and Davenport 9. Hutch was 2nd. Davenport was 9th. Onzarike was 38th. Hits on quarterback 3 in the top 15. You had Hutch at 2, Davenport at 10, Anzarike at 13. Again, Anzarike is becoming like he's becoming something, man. Lions in the top 20 of pass rush grades for Pro Football Focus. First was Hutchinson with 95.7. 16th was Anzarike with 76.4. Davenport was 20th with 75.5. McNeil was 41st with he was in the top 50 with his grade. And the interesting thing here is Stafford's time to throw in the first half was 2.32, which would have been the highest it would have been the fastest in the NFL until the second half when it was 2.72. He was getting rid of the ball. Basically, they were trying to hold the ball a little bit longer to get that make get the receivers on the field. And next week's gonna be the same thing. Baker Mayfield, he's at 232 he was 232 too for the whole game. So it seems like he gets the ball pretty quick too. So when we talk about why is the pass defense giving up plays? Well, number one, teams can't run against Detroit. And that's number one. Number two, the pass defense is going to have to give a little because your run defense is pretty damn good. And I think once DJ Reader comes back in there, that's when you'll see a big impact on the pass defense.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. I think that obviously that's something to be said of like the quarterback's getting the ball out really fast. And if you watch the game, I mean, Cooper Kupp was like, had like 1 million catches. He had like 15 catches for 110 yards. So, which if you do add that up, I mean, it's not much. He's getting like, 5-6 yards, 5-6 yards, 5-6 yards here and there. But it's like I said, because, if we're creating this pressure and we're getting to the quarterback, obviously Stafford has to get rid of that ball very quickly. I think it was smart game planning on Sean McVay's end. I think it's smart game planning on the Rams' end as a total. And I think Stafford also knew that he, was getting uncomfortable quickly, so the ball had to come out very fast. Hutchinson, he had a good game. He was a little bit quiet in terms of the stats, but I mean, what can you do when he's getting the ball out in 2 seconds? I mean, he was making noise. He was making them uncomfortable. I think he did end up with a sack. So he did a great job. He contained the edge, and the guys up front looked really good. And Levi O looked amazing. We've been waiting for that for a few years now. And like you said, Davenport and those guys were really stepping up. So as long as this D-line can stay healthy, I mean, this should be able to be, a top 10 unit in the league this year. And so, yeah, I mean, just, forcing Stafford to become uncomfortable quickly. And I think that that's probably going to be a common theme if we stay on the pressure how we are. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see most teams game plan that way, trying to get the ball out in, less than 2.5 seconds. So, with teams that tend to hold on to the ball longer, we might see these guys really eat and get some sacks and some more tackles for loss. But, we'll have to see how the season goes.
Yeah, I was interested the way that it kind of played out. Like, it was funny because I was at the game and I saw that the pass rush was getting home. I saw that the pass rush was getting pressure. The issue for me was obviously Stafford was going to rid of the ball quickly, and the Rams had a really good game plan on how to get rid of the ball quickly. It's kind of something they did fluently when they played the 49ers or they played the Seahawks. If you go back to those game tapes and you watch it exactly how they attacked those two teams, and a lot of times they attack these teams with good pass rushers just like this. They didn't really wait on big plays to develop. They kind of made plays kind of like short, quick passes, getting the ball out, just trying to get it in space. Obviously, when you have a guy like Cooper Kupp, it's going to give you a lot of it's gonna give you a lot of opportunities to push it down the field a little bit. He's gonna be open a lot. One thing I always say, I was talking to some Rams fans and I was like, it's like life, death, taxes, and Cooper Kupp is always open. That's how it is. I don't know what kind of I really don't know what he does to get open like this. Like it doesn't matter the time of the day, he's open all the time. And it just so happens they got this guy Puka Nacua who obviously got injured halfway through the game, but he's just like Cooper Kupp, except he's a little bit bigger. So
Exactly.
it's just someone that the Rams, and you can kind of see that the way Les Snead and Brett Holmes have the same way they draft talent. They go for these guys that have like a high ceiling, but they're smart players. You could tell that's where Brett Holmes got it from. But yeah, I was very interested because obviously the pass rush if we go to the pass rush win rate, uh, Hutchinson was number one with 48.3 on the team. Davenport was 40.0. Barnes was third on the team with 28.6. Just thought it was a really good game by all those guys. They played really, really well, and I thought the guy that was kind of like surprising on here was Derek Barnes.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Barnes he's a guy whose development has been really exciting, to see these past couple of years. I think he came in, he was kind of like, those first couple of years, he was very much a roster bubble guy. Like, you didn't know he was going to be here. And then all of a sudden, he's pretty good on special teams, but you don't know where his fit is on the defense. And then a couple guys play like shit. A couple guys get hurt. All of a sudden, he gets this opportunity to start playing. And as the years have gone on, he's just gotten better and better and better. And I think he's more finding out the kind of player he is, finding out what he's good at, finding out what he's comfortable at. I mean, with the third best pass rush win rate, that shows me something that he didn't show a lot of last year, because he was out in coverage a lot last year, which he, was able to get a couple nice pass deflections and a nice interception. And he played fairly well in pass coverage. So for him to kind of open that up and get to the quarterback and get a little bit of some pass rushing added to that is really cool to see the development of Derek Barnes. And I hope that, some of the guys on our team that aren't your blue chip guys similarly developed like that. I mean, both him and Rodrigo are a couple like linebacker pieces that have developed really well. So you hope that trend can continue, that we can kind of upgrade, develop those 5th, 6th, 7th round guys.
Yeah, Mayak brings up a good point. The last sack by Hutch to end the half was huge, and it was huge. For every intensive purpose, that was a pretty big sack. And, I think it was something that needed to happen. Obviously, a Kirby Joseph interception at the end of the half was huge. There was a lot of huge moments in that game. I think when you're playing a team like the LA Rams, I think that you just want to kind of like, it's not going to be a perfect game. You're not going to get away with it. I mean, they're a good coach team, have a good quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who was obviously our quarterback a while ago. But I mean, they have good players all over the place, and the Lions just had to grudge one out. And Dave Montgomery, that's another guy that we're going to be talking about later in the podcast. But I just wanted to say, like, I thought the defense played well. I thought a lot of people, like, they're not understanding the issue with like why teams are passing to get like, they got a lot of teams they're gonna have to eclipse some pass yardage to get, they're gonna have to pass to move the ball, because you're not gonna run the ball on Detroit like a lot of teams. So you're gonna have to pass the ball. Your pass game's gonna have to be your run game. If you're a Detroit fan, you know all about this, because for years your pass game was your run game, and ironically, it was with Matthew Stafford. It was the same way. You're gonna throw these dink and doink passes. You're gonna try to get down the field, kind of like fast or slow. You're not gonna go for a big play. You're gonna go for small plays over the middle. Just try to inch your way down the field. You don't have a run game. I mean, they have Kyron Williams. They're gonna really damage some teams, but the Lions are a really good run defense. So you're gonna see this a lot from teams. They're gonna have to pass the ball in order to win. Like, they're gonna have to pass the ball to move the ball. So that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, also, at the same time, like, how many times, have we seen where, we've given up these big plays, right? Like, this was very much like a bend, don't break kind of game for the defense. Like, they were okay with giving Cooper Kupp 5, 6, 4, 8 yard catches and stuff. And so, we tried to limit the amount of times Matthew Stafford can take the top off us and chuck it deep, because we all know he's a gunslinger. He likes to send it deep. So I think at the end of the day, they did what they wanted to do, and that was to limit those explosive plays. Puka Nacua going down definitely helped us. I mean, you don't want to be excited or happy or wish any injury upon anyone. So I hope he gets better soon and is able to compete and have a good season. But having a guy like that go down in the game definitely does help your chances of winning. So we had to take advantage of that. And, just like I said, they were okay with giving up the 4 or 5 yard plays. So, they almost dimed us, dinked us and dunked us and dimed us to death. But we stayed on top of that stuff, man. And although Stafford had a lot of yardage, I think he had like 340 yards. Although he had a lot of yardage, it was just from a ton of completions. I mean, I think he had like over 34. He had like 33, 34 completions. So, But yeah, I mean, just I think that like from prior years, we're always seeing us give up this huge chunk yardage to some of these guys because we blow coverage or we just mess up. So just being able to kind of lock in and stick with the game plan. And again, man, it's the beginning of the year. I mean, it's gonna take a few weeks to get the rust knocked off these guys. So I think we're fine. I think this was the game plan. They stuck to it and they got the win because of it. So
Well, Darcy brings up a good point. The Rams played us like the Seahawks did last year, everything outside. It's interesting he says that because it's kind of like the same thing I was thinking. Like when you think about the way that the Seahawks play the Lions, it's everything outside, which they have the wide receivers to do so. But a lot of teams, what they're doing is when they play Detroit, they're coming in here. They know they can't run the ball. If they do run the ball, it's a grace of God. Their offensive line is doing a damn good work. Like obviously, we saw Lamar Jackson and the Ravens run on us, but that's a totally different situation. You have to kind of like pass the ball incrementally to move down the field. So if you don't do that, you're going to be a shit out of luck. And for number two, we saw teams, do the same thing they did last year. The difference is, I think, as we go forward through the rest of the season, I think we're going to start to see this defense become better in terms of the way that they defend and the pass, and that's when they're going to become scary good because right now they're gelling together. You can tell Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold, they're still trying to figure things out, especially in the defense. And obviously Carlton Davis is trying to figure it out too. So when you got new guys on the team, you're trying to figure it out.
yeah, and it's weird, man. It's like we can't sign. It's like there's something cursed about our cornerback play. Like we can't seem to sign a veteran that can. I mean, I'm being super duper immature or not premature, not immature. I'm being super duper premature. I'm just saying it's like funny. Like every time we go out and get like a veteran to be this cornerback help or this cornerback depth, it's like we're never pleasantly surprised by how amazing they start to play. So I hope that Carlton Davis has a good year.
I think you will.
Around a bit.
I think you will. I just think that it was one of those games, one of those teams, one of those opportunities that is going to give you a little bit of difficulties. You know what I'm saying?
I know that. And it's like last year, like Emmanuel Mosley and Cam Sutton were like our secondary.
Okay, Cam Sutton was. I think Cam Sutton was decent until he got hurt. My opinion. Emmanuel Mosley, we never seen him play on the field. I think one snap. That's it.
Yeah, poor guy. Feel bad for that guy.
What was our best cornerback signing?
Rasheem Mathis was kind of buns.
Yeah, Rasheem Mathis is all right.
But I mean, the only one I can think of, the only good cornerback play in the last 15 years I can think of is Darius Slay. And we drafted him.
You drafted him, so that don't matter. I think Glover Quinn was one of the best defensive backs we signed out of free agency. That was one of the best.
But I admire the determination to say, hey, we know we're lacking here. Let's get better. Let's sign some guys. And you've seen how short of a leash that was, dude. I mean, we revamped per se, right? Our cornerback room last year didn't work out. So what did we do? We drafted 2 in back-to-back rounds, and then we went and signed 2 guys. So they're sticking to that part of the plan of like, hey, if something's weak on this team, we're gonna fix it. So I admire that, and like I said, it's gonna take a while for these guys to gel, especially some of them rookies, some of those rookies. I don't imagine the secondary being the strength of this team at least this year, but if it can be serviceable, we got Branch and Kirby over the top, so we got a little bit of a safety net there.
Well, I venture a guess, in my opinion, that I do think that the secondary will be a strength at the end of the season. I think Terrion Arnold is really gonna come into a fold. I think Carlton Davis is gonna get better. Now, here's the thing: like we just talked about it ad nauseum, like early in this podcast, but we're gonna do it again, but a little bit. But it's kind of like a team that you're playing. You knew what you were going to get yourself into. So you knew that they were going to pass the ball. You knew they were going to get yards. You're just trying to limit their damage. Like you don't want to give them any tough big plays. You don't want to give them any touchdowns. Like one of the things I know about the LA Rams is when they're held down to a certain kind of thing, when they're held down to a certain amount of plays, they kind of struggle. So the Lions did what they had to do to win, and that's exactly what happened. But let's talk about another part of the team that we got to talk about. I didn't think the offensive line. I didn't think the offensive line was that good. I don't know about you, Tyler, but I thought the offensive line was kind of wishy washy. And
So
when I went back to the stats, let's look at the stats. Frank Ragnow was 90 at pass blocking efficiency was at number 1 on the team, 98.4. Sewell was 96.9. Graham Glasgow was 96.9. Zeitler was 95.3. I don't expect that. And Taylor Decker was 93.7. You go to pressures given up. Decker 3, Zeitler 2, Sewell 2, Glasgow 1, Ragnow 1, which you're gonna give up pressures, but stick with me. Sacks given up, Decker and Zeitler both had 1. Ragnow, Glasgow, and Sewell had 0. So what it tells me is the offensive line, especially on the left side, had a horrible day. They gave up sacks twice, which I don't expect because you're compensated really, really well, especially Taylor, especially Kevin Zeitler, really, really well. And the guys on the right side, they were holding their own. And mind you, Graham Glasgow he hasn't played the right side very much.
right.
So he's learning this as he's going, and he still did better. So I expect a lot better from the offensive line next week. A lot better. You guys went against some rookies last week, some young guys. I know that they're talented, but at the same time, you can't have that happen. Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. The numbers. There was something weird about like the numbers versus the eye test because like numbers wise they didn't do too bad. The eye test I feel like they were getting kind of bullied around a little bit during the game by guys they shouldn't have been, right? So guys that aren't like premier pass rushers. But luckily one thing that did happen is that in that overtime period those guys really ramped it up and they bullied the hell out of those guys, man. So they ramped it up when it mattered. And I am happy to see that. And I think that kind of just goes to show that, like, I mean, Zeitler and Glasgow, Glasgow playing in a kind of a new spot. Zeitler not ever playing with any of these guys. I mean, and they didn't take any preseason snaps together. Again, it's just going to take a couple of games for these guys to gel because, I mean, the line has to be cohesive and they have to know, they're used to playing with Jonah Jackson every day for the past 4 years.
But Jonah Jackson was ass. So
yeah, well, but I mean, shit, he made the Pro Bowl with us. You know what I mean? So he was surrounded by guys that he knew how to communicate and play well with the guys he had around him. So I just think that just by playing with together, and letting couple weeks settle in, and like Darcy is saying, communication, just having that between the O line, I think they're going to be fine. Actually, if you want to flip it around, I could even play devil's advocate and say I'm surprised sometimes that they played so cohesively together without playing together much. But with the individual talent of all these guys, I agree that it should be like top tier every week. It's no excuse.
Well, I'll say it like this. I expect communication issues in the secondary. That's what I expect. I don't expect it with the offensive line. I know it's like kind of like whatever, but like Zeitler is a veteran. Decker is a veteran. Ragnow is a veteran.
Right.
They all have been there. And it's not like they lost their center. Like if you lose your center, then there's communication issues.
Right.
But at the same time, you expect more from a guy like Zeitler and Decker. Like those are two guys that you just paid Decker, so he's got compensated well enough. Zeitler, you gave him good money. You expect more. I watched Kevin Zeitler with the Baltimore Ravens. Great player. I expect that same great player right now.
And that's why I've got my own issues. I didn't really love the Taylor Decker extension. What up, John? I didn't really love the Taylor Decker extension. I think that we could have moved Sewell over to left tackle and we could have gotten a serviceable right tackle for much less money. I mean, the crowd might hate that. I might be in the minority there, but I just don't love giving that huge chunk of money to Taylor Decker because I think that most of his career outside of a couple brilliant years have been pretty average. But that's just my take on Taylor
I
Decker.
just think they're taking care of a guy that's been a lifer.
And I feel that.
And then
and I think that's a big thing.
The contract's really easy to get rid of after like I think the last year. I mean, second year, so easy to get rid of. But yeah, I expect more from those guys, and especially a guy like Kevin Zeiler, I expect a lot more from. So very interesting. I don't know, man. I just thought it was interesting because I really didn't see the offensive line, and then when I went back to watch it, I was watching issues where Zeitler gets kind of like bullied by Kobe Turner, or Jared Verse beats Taylor Decker to the outside when Decker took the wrong step. Like those are some of the things that I don't really expect from these guys. You see, what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
we've seen them play good football. So I mean, obviously it's game one. Things are going to happen. Obviously you're trying to get back in the groove. So I don't think this is going to be the norm. But I need to see a lot better because that's the way it is.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I totally see that. And like I said, in my opinion, like, and here's another thing too, and I don't know if you had a segment for this, or you want to get into it, just like, obviously I know there's some key guys we got to talk about, and there's some key things, but just the way that they played us, it's like they know we work the middle of the field like that. So like it'll be interesting when we start getting into that about like how they kind of were able to shut down like Laporta and Amon-Ra. Like the Rams played exactly the Rams played us like they're in our division and they see us 4 times a year. They really did. They had a great game plan. They did. I mean, they shut down our strength. They shut down our strengths. They made us change to our other strength. Good thing about this team, about championship caliber teams, is that you don't have one strength. You have 3 or 4 strengths on offense, and you can just pivot. So,
well, here's the thing. Let's hit on that now.
Yeah.
So I was watching the tape. I went back and watched on the NFL Plus and everything, which bravo to the NFL people. Very, very, very. It's much better than it was in years past. Very much so. Even better on the iPad. They need to get an app for the TV for a Samsung, but I'm not gonna bitch and moan. Anyways, go back and watch. I went back and watched it. One of the things the Rams did really, really well is they got pressure quick, which was what we were talking about in the last segment, little blurb. But the other thing that I really noticed about that game was they did do a good job at clogging up the middle, but they also did a really good job at confusing like coverage. Like it was really interesting. It looked like a man coverage, and then it went into zone coverage. And then they had a bluff where they looked like they were in zone. They weren't in zone. They were in cover 3. So they went out. Ironically, that was the play that JMO scored on that 52-yard pass in the third quarter. But it's just funny because there was a lot of things that they did that they've never done because they got a new defensive coordinator this year. Because Raheem Morris went to Atlanta to be the head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. I thought the Lions did a good job because I don't really think they knew what they were getting into in terms of what the Rams were going to do defensively. And it's going to be the same next week because offensively, Dave Canales ain't there for the Buccaneers. So you really don't know what you're getting into with the Buccaneers.
Well, and what I saw to me was like the Rams came in there and they said, hey, you're not getting the damn ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're not getting the damn ball to Sam Laporta. You're going to beat us on the ground if you need to, or you're going to have to throw it to JMO. And what did we do? We ran it in the ground and we threw it to JMO. I mean, we took what they were giving us, and because Jameson Williams has, to most fans and most fan bases and to the general population, has disappointed, especially being a top 15 pick up until this point. They were betting on, hey, get it to a guy. We know what Amon-Ra is. We know what Sam Laporta looked like last year as a rookie. We know what you guys got, through the middle of the field. Hey, we don't know if we trust Jared Goff's arm. We're going to make you throw it deep, and we're going to make you target a guy who's had issues with catching the ball in the past couple of years. But you know what? That's a different guy this year, baby. He came up, he rose to the challenge. He looked damn good. And you can just tell with Goff's targets to JMO that his trust in him has shot up 1,000%. I mean, JMO deserves his own damn segment and his own. I mean, I could talk for an hour about this guy, But
Oh,
just
what
at
she
the
will.
end of the
We'll get to
day,
that more. We'll get to that more. And we'll get. We got another We got a segment just for JMO.
just basically at the end of the day, what we did is we did what they were allowing us to do, and and that's what we execute as a team. And I think that's what a good football team does. Hey, we're going to take this away. We're going to make you do that. Okay, we'll do that, and we'll beat you at it. Like the Lions are, it's your classic statement of we'll take what you'll give us.
Yeah, here's the thing about Jared Goff. I do find this interesting. I don't know if you're going to find this interesting, but his intended air yards was better than he was better than Stafford. He had more air yards than Stafford. He had more air yards than Aaron Rodgers. Who, look, I don't know how people feel, but Aaron Rodgers looks like a chump right now. Anyways, more air yards than Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. Everyone says that they kind of correlate him into being a guy who throws downfield a lot. It seems like he's becoming more of let's check it down, let's get it to their guys. That's what it is. So it's not a bad thing. Everyone, they want the long ball, but you don't want to deal with the long ball consequences. Long ball consequences is that bitch gets picked off and then you lose the ball. But it's interesting because I got a really weird stat, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. This is Jared Goff's stat, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is stat pack 1. Jared Goff passing pressure kept clean. The drop back percentage is 68.8. He had 22 dropbacks, which is 22 attempts, 13 completions, 61.9 completion percentage, yards 127, yards per attempt 6.0, touchdown 0. This is kept clean as well. Interceptions 1. Under pressure, Jared Goff, that was 31.3% of the time. Dropbacks 10, attempts 7, which doesn't make any sense, but that's what it came down with. Completions, well, yeah, it kind of does. Completions 5. The completion percentage was 71.4, 90 yards, 12.9 yards per attempt. The touchdown, he had 1 touchdown and 0 interceptions. And we go to stat pack number 2. When he was not blitzed, 78% of the time, dropbacks 25, attempts 22, 13 completions, completion percentage 59.1, which means that when he wasn't blitzed, he couldn't complete a pass. 120 yards passing, yards per attempt 5.5. Interesting. His touchdown 0, interceptions 1. But when he was blitzed, which he's going to get blitzed, he's going to get blitzed a lot this week with Todd Bowles. Drop back percentage was 21.9. Drop backs, he had 7 attempts, 6, 5 completions, 83.3 completion percentage, 97 yards, 16.2 yards per attempt, touchdowns 1, interceptions 0. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this, Tyler, because I don't know what you make of it. It seems like whenever Jared Goff had time, it seemed like he kind of overthought it, which he's not going to get that luxury this week, obviously with Todd Bowles. So under pressure, he actually performed better than when he was kept clean. And when he was blitzed, he performed better than he was when he was not blitzed.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think it just boils down to kind of some of those weird week 1 anomalies of what is really going on. It's hard, right? I mean, you kind of have to look beyond the stats and say, okay, what were the routes being run? What were the reads? What was the situation in the game? What was the score? What was the quarter? There's a lot that comes down to that. I think that you're going to see a lot of that weird stuff within those first couple weeks, where these guys are just getting comfortable again. I mean, they haven't played much together, game time wise, because we didn't play any of the starters during the preseason. So the way I just see it is just things are going to be skewed, things are going to be weird. You almost kind of think exactly like you said, maybe Jared Goff, when he's completely open and he's clean, he's overthinking it a little bit. Maybe he's trying, to feed a certain game plan or to feed certain guys or just to kind of figure out what's going on. And I also credit the Rams defense because they were pulling a lot of different stunts, and they were doing a lot of hybrid man zone coverages and spy not spies but bluffs, so I just think that just taking a couple weeks to kind of view everything and settle down. So these numbers are going to be a little weird and a little skewed, but yeah, that's pretty much what I can attest it to. I'm thinking, I don't know, something just didn't seem right. I'm pretty thankful that we got away with a win. Just something felt kind of off with the offensive flow of everything. But it's weird because the stats don't really show that it was a bad game, but just on the eye test, it looked uncomfortable. And I'm just hoping that these guys get comfortable, quickly. I don't know. And I don't know if you're able to kind of pick up what I'm throwing down. It's just something didn't look right.
Well, I think I kind of like it's the mix of what you said. Okay, it's week one. Obviously, you're not going to be perfect at all. Obviously, there's a lot of things to work on. Dan Campbell said it. We're going to be a lot better in week two. You got to hope that they're better in week two, because if they keep playing like this, I mean, they did what they needed to do to win, but at the same time, like, you're going to have to be better than this moving forward. So,
oh yeah, there's no way you can play against a real contender like that and expect to win.
but I just look at it like, okay, like, I know that Jared Goff. The moniker is when he plays, when he does, when he's pressured, he's a little bit off. When he's not pressured, he's a little bit off as well. So it's kind of like what is this something that we're gonna kind of notice with Jared Goff moving forward? Like, is this gonna become a regular thing,
Right?
Or is this something that we're gonna kind of like, okay, we're gonna understand more and more? That's what I would kind of play into.
Well, and I'm just hoping that these guys at the end of the day, they can kind of look back and say, hey, we squeaked one out. Let's all understand that, but also let's make sure that we're not continuing to squeak these out. So, but yeah, I mean, if if you're looking for like a real good analysis, like I said, of this game, it's kind of full of anomalies. I know that there was a lot of people upset that Amon Ra wasn't doing his thing, or getting a lot of catches or a lot of yards, a lot of mad fantasy owners and stuff. But if you think about this, and I don't know your opinion on this, Joe, but seeing us dominate with them, not dominate, that was a poor word. With us seeing us win and move the ball without our best offensive player doing jack shit, that is a positive sign.
Well, your two best. You could say your three best too.
I mean, seriously, like you're arguably your three best offensive players, and not arguably, three out of your four biggest playmakers, because I got to throw JMO in there as well with his explosiveness. But three out of your four biggest playmakers were shut the hell down, and we still found a way. I mean, what happens to the Vikings when Justin Jefferson gets shut down?
It's over.
Do well. No. What happened? You saw to the Bengals. What happens when you don't get Justin or Jamar Chase rolling? You get beat by the damn Patriots.
The one thing you could say about this team is that they got versatility.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing. So, like, you just mentioned the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, when they don't get Jamar Chase, when Jamar Chase doesn't do good and Joe Burrow's not getting the ball out in time, they kind of struggle. You see it with you see it with other teams like the Dallas Cowboys. Like, when Dak isn't on his game, they kind of struggle. You look at you look at the 49ers. When they don't got Trent Williams, they don't got Christian McCaffrey, except for yesterday. But especially Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel, that offense really struggles. So watching, Amon-Ra St. Brown not had the best game. Watch Sam Laporta not have the best game. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't have a good game either. And then you still come out with a W against a playoff caliber team. I mean, that tells you a lot about how good this team is. And if we're going to be totally honest with each other, it tells you that they're able to win in different ways than they had before. Go back to 2000 and go back to 2013, 2014, those teams, right? If Kellen Johnson and Matthew Stafford didn't have those great games, they don't win those games.
100%.
Like 2011, the same thing. Like, if Matthew Stafford wasn't on that record pace for 5,000 yards, they don't win those games. What I'm trying to say is the best teams, they don't have to win games with just one way. They can win it multiple ways. And I thought, Sunday, they won it in multiple ways. They won it bruising the ball with Dave Montgomery. They won it kind of like muddying it up. They won it playing a bend don't break defense. They won it because They did tackle pretty well. They got pressure on the quarterback, made him get up, made him get the ball out pretty quick. I think if you're winning like that, and you have guys like Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra, and Jahmyr Gibbs who are not having their best game, I think that tells you everything you need to know about these guys. That they're able to get wins when the best players aren't coming to play.
1000%, man. I couldn't agree more. I think that I think that they're really going to look at this and say, hey, we do have options. And I still do, which, by the way, hey, I don't know if you had this on your bingo card, but I did not have 2024 Tom Kennedy snaps on my bingo card. Just throwing that out there. I think once this team elevates either Tim Patrick or Allen Robinson, which I think is inevitable, that will add an extra element to kind of the vertical attack as well. I don't want to, bro. There's a lot of Tom Kennedy fans and stands out there, man. Get this guy the hell up.
No. You better understand. You better understand one thing, Tyler. That is preseason Hall of Famer Tom Kennedy. Okay,
get this man the hell off my field in the freaking regular season.
You do not disrespect that guy like that. Tom Kennedy is a Hall of Fame preseason player.
Jeez.
Yeah, let's just wrap this portion up. I thought, you brought up a good point about them winning in a way that when it was dirty, they kind of won it. Mucky it up, they still won. That's what I take out of it. But the one thing I do take out of it, Tyler, and this is kind of like interesting the way it is, but like this was a game that Amon-Ra St. Brown had 13 yards.
Right.
Let's go. What is it? Let's see. Yeah, Amon-Ra had 13 yards receiving. He had 6 targets for 3 receptions, 13 yards. No, that's not good. Jahmyr Gibbs had 4 receptions for 34 yards, which is pretty decent for a running back. He still cleared the over. Sam Laporta 4 for 45, 5 targets. So,
which, by the way, that might be the most surprising and sneaky stat line of all, because I swear I didn't even see Laporta get the ball 4 times.
And 4 for 45 means he got 11.3 a target. So
but if you see the long at 18, that means he had 3 catches for 27 yards.
Yeah,
outside of that long. So, I mean,
well, the one I'm surprised about is Jahmyr Gibbs didn't even clear 50. Jameson had 13 yards rushing. Cleve Raymond had 12 yards rushing. Jared Goff, how about this?
Smash the over, baby.
Jared Goff over here, he is. I'm telling you, that's Vanilla Vic right there. That is Vanilla Vic. He is playing out of his mind. But no, Jahmyr Gibbs didn't even clear 50 yards. That's insane to me. And you still win. You didn't have a running back go over 100 yards and you still win this game. That tells me everything I need to know about this team. Because, I mean, honestly, I expect one running back a game to clear 100 yards easy.
With the kind of offensive line and the talent we have at running back, I definitely see where you're coming from.
It's like a non-negotiable.
And that's another thing. Look, I love Gibbs, right? I'm a Gibbs fan. Gibbs is cool. Love him. He's super electric, super, whatever. But what people don't realize, and for the people that were wanting Gibbs to get all the carries and Monty to kind of sit on the sideline, Monty is very important to this team and very important to this rushing attack. You need a guy like that can rack up 20, 18 to 20. I'm going to run through the tackles. I'm going to get bruised and beat the hell up, and I'm going to beat my way into some yards. I think that's undervalued, and I think it's underappreciated with a lot of fans because they love the explosive home run, the electric, plays, which is great. So do I. But how do you think a guy like Gibbs stays fresh enough to have those electric plays? It's because David Montgomery's gutting it up 20 times and getting these guys gassed and just punching through the tough yards. So I just wanted to kind of, I don't hear as much Monty love in the media and on social media and by the fans as I do about how enamored they are with Gibbs. But let's not get it twisted here. Montgomery's very, very vital to this rushing attack.
I hear people say it all the time, and I really don't understand I really don't understand where they're coming from. But when you talk about Jahmyr Gibbs taking the brunt load of the carries, I don't like that, to be honest, because what it sets up is Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get hit a lot more, and you want him to stay as fresh as he can be, because when he's fresh, he seems to be a much better player. And I think running backs as a whole, when they're fresh, they're a lot better because they're not sore, that they can make some good impactful plays. But Dave Montgomery is a beast. Like
Oh yeah.
people do not understand the ramifications of how much Dave Montgomery means to this team. You remember when we had Jamal Williams? Like it seemed like he would get 1 or 2 yards, but he'd be 1 to 2 yards short of what he should have got. Like I know he broke the touchdown record, but it's still like he never got those big. He would have never did what Dave Montgomery did in that game. Like there was plays where Dave Montgomery was stopped. He was stopped.
Oh yeah, dead in the water.
Dead in the water. He still gets 2 more yards out of it. Ben Johnson said something about that. After Jamal Williams left, he said, "Look, we got to get guys that get that 1 to 2 yards more than we need. That's what you need in a game." And look, you look at Christian McCaffrey. Let's look at the top teams. Isaiah Pacheco. You look at the Eagles and Saquon Barkley.
You could say Derrick Henry. I know he had a kind of a shitter his first game, but same
right. But he's still gonna be Derrick Henry. They're still gonna be fine. But as you just look at it and you go, look at these guys, and that's what makes it the good running backs better from the other ones. You see what I'm trying to say? Because they get those extra yards that others don't.
Yep, 100%.
All right. I think it's time to take a victory lap for Mr. Tyler, because I think, hold up. I think both of us were big on James. I don't think there was no podcast.
I think we were pretty on a similar page. But
people said I was the negative one, but I just said it like it was. Yeah. I want J-Mo to become the best player possible, because if he becomes the best player possible, the Lions will succeed. So it's J-Mo season.
I think what people are wrapped up in, like these football gurus and these guys, right, are he needs to be a 12th. He needs to live up to the hype of the 12th overall pick. No, the fuck he doesn't. No, he does not. Get that out of your head. He does not need to live up to your expectation of what a number 12 overall pick in your head should be. And I'm saying this to the fans that are being unrealistic about that, because he can't help where he was picked, right? He went through some stuff. He went through some issues. At the end of the day, he does not need to reach some magical number to justify why he went 12th. This guy is one of the fastest players in the league. He's super duper electric. He is having fun, man. This guy loves football. He is having fun. And he adds something to this offense that is so needed. And I am so happy for him, dude. He finally had he had his first 100-yard game. Had, I think, 5 catches is probably his career high in catches, maybe 1 short. But got to be close.
Yep.
And then, was able to just have some fun, man, break the top off the defense a little bit. And I know there was a ton of people really high on him having a breakout season, but this is exactly why when we drafted him and he went through his injury and he went through the gambling shit, we and you talked about it plenty of times. We screamed it till we were blue in the face. Be patient. The tools, he's got the it. He is electric. Be patient. And I said it over and over and over. And everybody laughed at me. They made fun of me. They talked shit, but we kept saying, be patient and look what's going. Now everyone's goes, oh, I knew it. I knew J-Mo was going to be good. I'd like shove that up where the sun don't shine, brother, because I heard all you haters the past 3 years. And you can jump on the bandwagon. There is plenty of room. This guy is going to be electric.
So, the thing that makes J-Mo, it separates him from a lot of other guys, is usually when you got the top end speed that you have, like J-Mo has, usually you're not going to get involved in the run blocking. You're not going to get involved in some of the things like this. I know the Detroit Lions, especially with Antoine Randall as their wide receivers coach, you're going to get it. If you don't block, you're not going to get the rock. No block, no rock. That's the way it rolls around there. And here's what I found fascinating, Tyler. So not only did J-Mo contribute on offense, which he did, he was fantastic, but did you know Jameson had the second best run blocking grade on the Lions?
Which is amazing.
So Glasgow was 78.4, Jameson Williams was 77.0, and Penei Sewell was 76.8. I don't think if you told someone that you could bet on this, okay? You could bet on Jameson Williams to have a better run blocking grade than Penei Sewell. I don't think anybody would have took it. But not only did he do that, he was also a difference maker in the pass game. 6 touches, 134 total yards, 1 touchdown. Like, look, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but this kid, if this is what he is this year, a lot of defenses are gonna have a lot of issues to deal with because you can't just say, "Oh, we're gonna bracket Sam Laporta and St. Brown," because then JMO is gonna get loose. I want to put this for you together. This is wide receiver leaders by separation score in week 1. Donnie Mitchell was AD Mitchell was number 1. You know, your Colts guy. Mike Evans number 2. George Pickens number 3.
I
Jameson
tell you
Williams number
what,
4.
side blurb here. Adonai Mitchell would have looked like one of the best steals of the draft if Anthony Richardson could, like, I don't know, hit a broadside of a damn barn. It's weird, and that's one of those guys. I'll keep this short and sweet, but that's why if you watch any of the highlights of the Colts game, this guy made one of the most ridiculous throws you'll probably ever see in your life, and then like a quarter later, he like messed up 2 of the easiest throws you'll ever see in your life. It's like that's the polarity that you're going to get with a guy like Anthony Richardson. But this guy dropped a crazy dime to Alec Pierce and then misses Adonai Mitchell for like 2 easy 20-yard tuds. But whatever.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson is one of the guys that like I know you watch college football, but like watching Florida with Anthony Richardson was like some kind of special because he would hit like the short pass, and then all of a sudden, you know, he would hit this long ass pass that you're like, wow, he got the cannon. But then you go back to the short pass, and this guy overthrows like his tight end or wide receiver by like 40 yards. You're like, all right, bro, settle it down, dude. Like, settle it down. And that's kind of what makes you appreciate a guy like Jared Goff, to be honest.
Oh, yeah,
like a guy that can make the right throws, the right accuracy, the right time. Because like a lot of times people love those guys that can throw deep, but if you can't hit those short to intermediate routes with a consistent basis, you're gonna have a little bit of issues in the NFL.
1000%. Yeah, and you know, just going back to kind of the whole JMO thing, like, dude, his route running has looked so much better. He's looking crisp. His run blocking is amazing. He is a team guy. His dude is getting like in people's faces, like in that Montgomery touchdown, or I think it was the Montgomery touchdown. He's just, dude, he's getting all up in the dude's grill and getting all up in his face, dude, and like bumping face masks and shit. Like, this dude, for as much slack as he caught for being, you know, having too much swagger or being you know, a guy that doesn't fit our culture, like, dude, hell no, this is very important.
I think he's the exact what this culture like wants.
Yeah, well, and it's like it like rides the edge of like, this is the kind of guy we want. So like, right, like one side of the spectrum is JMO, the other side of the spectrum is like CJ Gardner-Johnson. You want that same energy, but you want that to be like the way JMO's doing it. Like, it's healthy, it's competitive, it fires guys up, and he's like, dude, this guy loves his teammates, man, and he loves football, and it's just cool to see.
Well, another person that has that kind of swagger is Kirby Joseph.
Oh yeah,
and I thought it was very interesting because this was the Lions tweeted this out. Kirby Joseph entered the NFL in 2022. Among all NFL safeties since then, he ranks second in pass defenses and tied for second in interceptions with 9. Like, you talked about someone that like toes the line, but still like he's got swagger, he's got what he's got it is, but he puts it to the forefront. And Kirby Joseph is one of those guys too, like swagger 110. But does he talk and does he make stupid things like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? Absolutely not.
Right.
And I thought for sure when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson did that whole, you know, bide in the first half to the 49ers, I knew for certain that he wouldn't be back with the Lions. But it was just interesting that like Kirby Joseph and Jameson Williams, these are the kind of guys that like if you're looking for a guy that has swagger, they talk a lot of junk, they hit hard, they're mean and they're physical at times, but they're also flashy too.
Well, I remember you said something that you said too. I'll never forget when when we were doing the draft recap and we had just taken Kirby Joseph. You knew a little bit more about him than I did, but you're like, hey, I'm like, I don't know. Is this good? Is this a good pick? Like, I don't really know much about this guy. You're like, look, by what the research I've done, that basically like he's going to be a high risk, high reward guy. Like, he is his main thing is he wants to come in here and ball hawk. So he's either go the hell out and he's gonna ball hawk and he's gonna get some shit, or he's gonna die trying. So, but unfortunately, like your assessment was pretty correct. Like this dude, it finds a way to the ball. He's a ball hawk straight up, and so that was a good call by you. I had to give you your props. I remember breaking that down after the draft. And that was basically your assessment is like, this guy finds his way to the ball if he can figure it out in the pros. Because he was a little, there's a couple things that were, concerning about him. Maybe some like, I don't know, hip fluidity and instinct and, playing too fast. Because he did kind of run around a little like he was, a bullet in a china shop for those first, that first year and a half. But he figured it out.
It's funny about Kirby Joseph because if you went back and you watched him at Illinois, the one thing that really stood apart was kind of like, okay, he does a lot of things correct. Right, he does a lot of things correct, but the issue with Kirby Joseph coming out of Illinois was he was so eager to go get the ball that he would forget about his other duties.
Right.
So he runs past like the tight end, and the tight end's gone. So that was kind of like his thing. That like he was too ready to go like get that ball that like he would try to find himself out of position. I think they coached him out of that. I think Aaron Glenn kind of was like, okay, this kid got something, but I think he has something that can be desired. And the one thing I like about Kirby Joseph is he hits hard as hell. He hits hard as hell. You love seeing that from a young buck.
100%. And then it's like, dude, and it's like, look, and this is another side little note I want to talk about. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the press conference with Stafford after. They're like, are you tired of the old Jared Goff chances of getting old? It's like the media sets these guys up. Like, what the hell is he supposed to say, to be fair? Yeah, I love it. I love going somewhere and hearing another quarterback's name chanted all the time. So, like, they're trying to create this villain narrative. It's just funny because it's like, I don't have any ill will toward Matt Stafford. I think I don't like him talking his shit about like Kirby Joseph and stuff about him being a dirty player and this and that. I think he should pipe down a little on those fronts. But I mean, for the NFL to try to create the storyline of pitting these guys against their old cities and stuff, and I mean it's fun for TV, but at the end of the day, I think that these guys, these are grown men and they're focused on their own team. But it was just funny. I saw the question. They're like, "Are you tired of hearing all the Jared Goff chants?" Blah, blah, blah. It's like what the guy is supposed to say. No, I love him. I want to hear him more. Keep doing it. Like the media just sets people up. I know that you've had your run in seeing how the media treats some of these guys, and it's just some of the questions they ask is so damn stupid.
Well, here's the thing about it. Okay, like Matthew Stafford keeps saying, "Oh, Kirby Joseph, you're a dirty player." Dude, the whole reason that your player got his knees taken out is because you throw the ball like an idiot. Like
Right.
you get your players hurt. The way you throw the ball, the way you put the ball is how you get your players hurt. How do we know? Ask Calvin. Ask Golden Tate.
But the funny thing is like they don't bring that up. They always want to like fuel something to like get. They want to get like Goff like and Stafford pitted against each other or something. It just doesn't seem like they're super interested in like having a personal beef.
It's so funny that the narrative that has shifted on Stafford, because when he was with Detroit, oh my God, this guy is barely a top 10 quarterback. Goes to LA. Oh, he's a top 5 quarterback. Wait, there's nothing that's changed about Stafford. He's always been the same guy. Like we're literally seeing it. Maybe Jared Goff is better in Detroit than he was in LA. I could say that, but you're not giving him the credit. And it's just over and over and over again. But like the thing I was like pissed about was like Matthew Stafford comes and says like Kirby Joseph is dirty. Bro, you get your players hurt more than anyone else I know. Like the way you throw the ball, like you put your players in positions to get hurt.
Oh yeah, dude's throwing hospital balls all the time.
Like Puka Nacua doesn't get hurt if you throw the ball to the sideline, but you wanted to throw it a little bit towards the outside boundary, and that's where Nacua got hurt.
It's just funny because when you start to break it down more and you're more interested in kind of being involved with like, getting to know some guys in the media, getting to talk to some guys in the media, doing something like we're doing a podcast, and you just get to see it from the inside a little bit. It's just it's funny because like the media tries to like control these narratives, and it's like if you really pay attention to it, like you can totally get yourself lost in it, and it's just funny. It's like I said, it's just coming from a different perspective. It's hilarious to see what they try to force, and it's like they want Goff and Stafford to hate each other so bad. And I just I think Goff's to the point where he's like, look, I'm worried about myself and my team. I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because I was thrown away or whatever, but like, I'm past that now. I'm not using that as my crutch to be like, oh, that no one wanted me, poor me. Like, he's like, nah, like, this is my team now. This is my city now. And, like, we're here to wreck shit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's what it is. And I don't care what Stafford has to say because honestly, the whole Stafford thing is played out. All
Well,
right,
and who's like the determining factor in all this too is freaking douchebag McVay, dude. I can't stand that guy.
he's yeah, he is a DB, but we got some comments. Let's go. Let's get to these comments because there's a couple of them. E. Kenna says, "What are your thoughts on the way the D line played? Rams O line was banged up, but they didn't get to Stafford much. Was it more Rams offensive game plan to get the ball out of Stafford's hands quick?" E. Kenna, I talked about I talked about this earlier in the podcast. I went back and watched, and their goal of that offense was to get the ball as quickly as possible. It's funny because I really don't think that the Rams ran a deep route, like a long developing deep route. Like, did they run a crosser? Did they run a fly? I mean, I think they ran a fly once or twice in a game, never panned out. But like at the same time, like they were getting that ball out quick, especially with Cooper Kupp, especially with Kobe Parkinson, which I don't know what the hell, man. This kid, Kobe Parkinson, I don't know why he plays the best with Detroit. I don't understand it. This guy doesn't cover shit when he's not playing Detroit. Do you know how many times he's covered against Detroit? 6 out of 6.
That's crazy.
I have no idea why. It's not like he's Travis Kelce. He's freaking Colby Parkinson, for God's sakes. And somehow he's like every time he covers against the Lions. I bet. Okay, I like the dabble in it. Okay. I'm going back and I'm researching this. And they're like, Colby Parkinson has covered the last 6 against Detroit. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what in the hell? So I go back and I look at it. Sure shit, he covered every one of those games with the Seahawks. Like, he was like the 3rd tight end, too. Like, I don't understand it.
It's insane.
All right. Big Dan Davis, my guy. He says, what did you guys think of the Lions defense needs to be better against Tampa Bay this Sunday? You know what? If there's going to be anything that the Lions defense needs to be better about, I'll tell you this right now. They need to be more press coverage. Okay, I thought they played a little bit off on the Rams wide receivers. They didn't want to allow the big play, which I understand. And especially this week, you can't play if you play press against the Buccaneers, they could beat you because they do got some good talented wide receivers. Mike Evans getting the separation he does, that really puts it to another level. But for me, in terms of the way I think, like they need to be more hands on this week, and they need to kind of like not give them as much room because I think. But the issue with that is the Buccaneers, they're a different team than the Rams. They don't like the from the first game. It seemed like they like to go long. But the thing about it is Baker Mayfield, he got the ball out pretty quick. I think he had the second fastest release in the NFL last week. So it might be another one of those weeks where you see them give up a lot of yards, but they don't give up the touchdowns. You see what I'm trying to say? That's the way it's gonna go.
And I tell you what, man, like something that's funny about like, and I've been not always proud to admit it, but I've been a Baker fan since like his early college days. Like I've really been rooting for Baker. I root from and everywhere he's been, and that guy, man, is like really slinging the rock. Like, I mean, like, I don't know. Baker's he seemed to really found a home in Tampa Bay. He has an offense that trusts him. He has an offensive line that's protecting him. He has receivers that like, that trust him and like playing for him. And like, if you look at like the back half of last season and the start of the season this year, the dude that was like 29 for 36 for 4 tutties, and the back half of the season last year, the guy literally, I'm not even kidding, was playing like MVP level football. So like, we definitely shouldn't take the Bucs lightly. But like this is going to be your first true test because Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and, their whole array of offensive weapons is nothing like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. They play a lot of deep ball. They play a lot and Baker too. He's gunslinger. It's a deep ball shots. It's 50-50 catches. It's, average. I guarantee Baker has one of the higher average yards per target over the past, year or so than most quarterbacks. So it's going to be a big test, and I'm excited to see what our secondary holds up and what kind of stunts we're pulling to try to limit that, because those are like Mike Evans, man. That's a big dude.
Well, it's interesting you say that. So I'm looking at the stats right now. Baker Mayfield, he got the ball in 2.36 seconds. His intended air yards was 5 yards, so those were short passes too. His completed air yards was 4.4. His aggressive percentage was 10, which is just tied with Goff. So I think what you're going to see from the Buccaneers is the same thing you've seen against the Rams. The way I'm reading it right now, like, you look at the aggressiveness, much lower than Jared Goff, ironically. You look at the
what that tells me is that so they do have the ability to do it with what was happening to us that first week, but what that kind of tells me is it's like that they're a little bit more, they're also versatile. But I also think that, like, you got to watch out for that, because the Rams don't have a guy like Mike Evans, 6'5", 50-50 merchant, who can take the top off the defense, really. You know what I mean? So, like, it'll be interesting how we decide to play this. It definitely is going to be our first test. I'm assuming Carlton Davis knows a lot about Mike Evans with them playing together for the last, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I'm sure Carlton Davis and Mike Evans has went round for round hundreds of times.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because, to be honest, the Lions have it's a difficult schedule, because usually, you come into a season, who you got, the offense coordinator you're going against, you know the defense coordinator you're going against. Unfortunately for the Lions, OC is new for Tampa Bay. The DC was new for the Rams. The OC, well, I think the Cardinals are the only one that has, but it's a relatively new coaching staff for the Seahawks, new DC for the Cowboys. So, but you know who Mike Zimmer is, so that's not non-negotiable. But
right,
it's kind of like you don't know what this team is going to do. You're just going to kind of see what they do. Obviously, they have the players. I mean, Chris Godwin, K. Dotton, Rashad White coming out of the backfield. He's a good receiving back. But it seems like they couldn't run the ball as well as, they couldn't run the ball like they did last year. So it's the same thing. But yeah, you look at the air yards, you look at the completed air yards, the time to throw. It looks like Baker Mayfield was getting the ball pretty quick, and that's what it's going to get to. We might have podcasts later in the week, like Saturday, probably, because I got I got some things going on. Usually we do one Thursday, but I have something going on. So, yeah. But Big Dan Davis again. Dave Montgomery is the guy that's going to get it gritted out and get this team to tough yards. He's the lead back, in my opinion. Gibbs is a change of pace back who will catch some passes and break a long one. I don't really think that there is a lead back in Detroit. I literally think, I don't know about you, Tyler. Answer me this question: is there a lead back in Detroit? Like, is there a guy in Detroit that you go, okay, that guy is the lead back? Because in my opinion, I don't think you have a guy that is their complete lead back. I think it's a game by game basis. Whoever is doing the best is going to get more of the carries. That's my opinion. That's the way I think Ben Johnson runs it.
I mean, the way I see it is, I guess to me it would, my answer, and I know I give a lot of these answers where they're like could go either way. I don't mean to ride the fence so much, but my idea is it depends on your definition of lead back. Is it the guy that's going out there first? Is it the guy that's getting majority of the touches and the carries, or is it the guy that's like having a majority of the explosive plays, or a guy that's in crucial situations? Because the definition of lead back can change. I mean, if I had to say, I got your bulk carry guy is typically going to be Montgomery.
Yeah.
But I also think, like we talked about earlier, that Jahmyr Gibbs is just as equally important to this offense. So it really is like a 1A, 1B. But if you want a flat answer of like who's getting the most carries or the bulk of the touches or is in when you need dependability, I guess you could quote unquote say David Montgomery is the lead back per se. But like you said, I think it is really a kind of a 1A, 1B situation. And I think that it's more of like a tandem deal where you kind of got a little bit of the thunder and lightning going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's not many true. I mean, there's a lot of running teams that do running back by committee, but I feel like there's not a lot of true 1A 1B tandems. And I think what we're seeing here is a special like kind of 1A 1B tandem.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. It's going to be interesting what they do. I think obviously, obviously Jameer Gibbs is talented, Dave Montgomery's talented. There's obviously a lot of talented guys, but I think both are, it's going to be kind of like a here nor there kind of basis. So it is what it is, and interesting. Big Dan Davis, JMO put a lot of work with Goff this offseason. They built some trust in each other. I'm okay with the fact that JMO got more targets. Now we had an offense where no one knows where the focal point is. I still think the focal point is St. Brown, but it is what it is. Michael says not quite. I don't know what he's alluding to. All LA had was a
Cooper Cup.
Oh, Cooper. Stafford has patched together a team. I don't agree with that one bit. I think that the only thing that Stafford did compared to Goff is I think that the team got a lot better around him. I think the defense was better with Stafford's team. I mean, you had Von Miller there, you had freaking Leonard Floyd there, you had Jalen Ramsey there for a little bit. I mean, whatever, dude. You want to say that he patched together a team? I don't think so. So whatever. Matthew Stafford. He said Matthew Stafford was also chirping at Hutch, trying to tackle him by the legs during the game Sunday night. Yeah, you know what? I did see that on the. I went back and watched, and then I went back and watched TV copy because I wanted to hear what Chris Collinsworth had to say because sometimes he does say some smart things. But yeah, that was first of all Matthew Stafford. I don't know. He went to LA and he turned into a total bitch. So that's the way it is. So Matthew Stafford. And I don't care if Kelly hears this because she does like the page. I don't really care.
Well, it's Booer Kids.
E. Kenna says Levi got a sack. You know what? E. Kenna, we're gonna get to that right now because I got something to say. So
take your victory lap, brother. Take your victory lap.
I was a big Levi Onwuzurike fan. Among all NFL interior defensive linemen in Week 1, Lions defensive line Levi Onwuzurike ranked per Pro Football Focus, second in QB hits 2, second and fourth in total pressures generated 5. Among all interior defense linemen with at least 15 pass rushing snaps, he ranked 4th in pass rush productivity. It's just kind of something I've been saying, Tyler. Like this guy, if he stays healthy, he could be a legit weapon. And when you add him into a DJ Reader combo, a Mekhi Wingo, a Lee McNeil, now that defensive tackle room is looking pretty deep, deep. So I'm intrigued by that. But I'll tell you the guy I'm really intrigued by. This guy, Aiden Hutchinson. Because only 4 players in NFL history have totaled at least 20 sacks and 4 interceptions through 3 career seasons. Look at these names. Lions defensive lineman, obviously Aiden Hutchinson. Clay Matthews, great player. Cornelius Bennett. Lawrence Taylor. I mean, you don't need anything to say about Lawrence Taylor. But the kicker is here. Hutchinson is the only one game into his 3rd season. So this can go up and up and up. And this is where we're going to probably end the podcast. Tyler, we'll probably have like a quick discussion on this, but like, is the defense, is this damage coming? Like are we going to start to see the best of Hutchinson, the best of the defensive line? Because when you get Reader back, I love what Davenport did in the first game. And I think it's only going to get better as we go on through the season.
Well, it depends on what, I think, and I don't mean to be cryptic with all these answers. I don't mean to be the guy that's like, well, it could be this, it could be that. But what I'm saying, what I'm going to open up with is basically, is damage a lot of sacks to you? Is damage a lot of pressures to you? Is it a lot of tackles to you? Or is it the fact that we are giving these guys so much fits that they have to change their entire game plan to throw it in 2.32 seconds? That they have to change the game plan, that they have to throw their checkdowns, that they can't go deep, that they have to alter their entire game plan in the moment, because that to me is damage, right? So someone could say like, okay, what if Hutchinson had 7 sacks this year, but he's near the top of the league in pressures? He's near the top of the league in QB hurries. And our defensive line is getting tons of pressure to these guys and making them uncomfortable. You got to remember, this is the NFL in 2024 where teams are getting the ball out faster than ever. They're checking down, they're dinking, they're dunking, they're coming across. So I think the main goal is to make these guys uncomfortable and make these guys feel the heat and feel the pressure. So if that's what you're determining to use damage instead of actual, like, say, sack totals, I think that this line is already very, very scary, and it's making people very uncomfortable. I mean, I don't think Matthew Stafford once was able to get into a nice, comfortable pocket last night. So that's my take on it. I think a lot of people are really wrapped up in the number of sacks, the number of tackles for loss, the number of QB hits. They have it in their mind that stats equal effect on the game. And I can tell you what, if you wanted to sit there, if you were a stat sheet watcher, you could look at this game and say, oh, yeah, hey, Aiden Hutchinson, he had a sack, he played okay. If you watch the game, this guy was disruptive every single play, and that's what you need out of your DN. This dude made Matthew Stafford very uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I kind of agree with you on a certain percentage. But what I think where I think I'm going to go with this is like, okay, I do think the defense is going to be different. Okay, I'm not really worried about sacks, to be honest, because I feel like sacks are just the end game, right? It's
Right.
about how do you get pressure. So if you get pressure and you're pressuring the quarterback and you're putting him to the test to, like, say, like, okay, if you make this wrong move while we're coming to get you, it's an interception. You know, that's the kind of things I look at when you get pressure. I'm not really interested in the sack total. I know people love sacks, and that's like you watch the stat sheet for sacks, and sacks do get you paid. But at the same time, like, if you pressure a quarterback to get rid of the ball before he wants to, and it ends up an interception, that's what I like. That's what I want. I think this defense is going to be more like that because teams are going to realize later in the season you're going to have to get rid of the ball pretty quick against this team. I think Aiden Hutchinson is going to hit another level in terms of his development. I think he's going to get better at rushing the passer. If Davenport stays healthy, I mean, this thing can go haywire. So you're going to have to get rid of the ball pretty quickly. And that's where it sets up, guys like Kirby Joseph, guys like Brian Branch, guys like Ifatu Melifonwu, guys like Carlton Davis, Rakestraw, which you that was your guy in our prediction thing. You like the Ennis Rakestraw. I think I think one of these guys is going to really break out, especially in the secondary. And I think it's going to be because of this pass defense, this pass rush. Because if this pass rush is just, look, there's not many quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford in the league. Not many quarterbacks are getting rid of the ball like that. When you go against a guy like Kyler Murray, he's not going to do that. You go against a guy like Geno Smith, he does get rid of the ball pretty quickly, but he ain't going to do that. Dak Prescott, he likes the long drawn out routes.
Well, what's funny is that, like, and that's why I think, like, Matthew Stafford used to hold on to the ball way too long. So the fact that, like, we made him, like, do something he's not necessarily comfortable with, which is a lot of quick hitting passes.
He changed, yeah.
I mean, that's what you want. You want to change what these guys are comfortable with. Like, I mean, for the longest time in Detroit, we kept saying, like, Matthew Stafford, he hangs onto the ball way too long. And so it's like, if you force a guy to get rid of the ball fast and not hang on to it, like, that's the thing is, like, can we make these guys alter what they're comfortable with? And can we just make them uncomfortable? Like, can we be somebody, like, we may not beat these guys up at the end of the day, Jesus analogy, but we're going to be in your face. We're going to be bumping my head on your head. We're going to be doing shit that, like, I'm going to make you feel like you're not welcome here. I'm going to make you feel uncomfortable. I'm going to make you feel like, you're not able to sit and have a comfortable stay in my house. So, like, and that's going to lead, what that's going to do is force the offense to do something dumb, like make a silly mistake, like Matthew Stafford throwing a freaking ball right to Kirby in the back of the freaking end zone or red zone. Zone. So I think it's going to be good.
I look at it like this. Okay, like, I know people want to go back and they want to look at, like, the stats and go, oh, we had 6 sacks, right? We had 6 sacks for the game. And look, sacks do help out. Like, they obviously do. Like, so sacks, like, if you get sacks, that's good. But at the same time, like, sacks are only a microcosm. You really want to pressure a quarterback. You want to get him to throw the ball a little bit early. And that's how you can win some games, because we saw it with Kirby Joseph. that play, like Stafford had to get rid of it a little bit too early than he wanted to. So that was very interesting. But I thought the Lions did a damn good job at that.
1000%, brother. I agree.
All right, so this is the end of the podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Obviously, if you're new to the channel, look, you can go follow the podcast right here. Oh, it's not gonna come up now. Oh yeah, you can just scan the QR code. You go to all the podcasts and social medias and everything, especially the people on Twitter. Just follow my Twitter, and we'll you can listen to the full podcast. But it's a great. We usually do a Thursday podcast, but I got something to go, so maybe we do a Saturday podcast, perhaps something like that, just to kind of get it going. Maybe we do a Sunday morning podcast, like a live stream right before the game. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But obviously that was a great game. Obviously, we'll be back for the post game after Lions and Bucks. And usually we'll do the post game, but I was at the game and I was not ready to do a podcast, and that would have been pretty brutal. So we'll see you guys in the next podcast. We talk more Detroit Lions football, but follow Detroit Lions this podcast on all the social channels that you see right there. We'll keep you covered, especially on the Facebook and Instagram. And then I'm gonna be more active on TikTok as well. I'm gonna start making daily videos and everything like that. So stay tuned to that. And we're gonna see you guys in the next podcast, whenever it is, maybe Saturday, but we might just go live. So thank you for watching, and thank you guys for obviously giving us your time. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Peace.
Good job, Tyler.